Welcome back to The Explainer. I am so excited you're here today. We are going to take a really fascinating look behind the drywall. We're demystifying a project that, honestly, at first glance, seems purely mechanical, but it's actually deeply rooted in chemistry and physics. We're upgrading a laundry plumbing system. With some awesome insights from plumbing expert Claude Taylor, we're going to break down the anatomy of a laundry box upgrade right from the inside out. So let's just dive right in and uncover the hidden science of your home. All right, I want to start by throwing a pretty high-stakes question your way. What actually happens when two different metals touch inside your walls? You might just think, well, nothing, they just sit there. But in the plumbing world, putting the wrong two metals together is literally like setting a slow-motion ticking time bomb right behind your washing machine. And the answer to that question is a silent killer we call electrolysis. Basically, it's a chemical process where an electrical current actually flows between dissimilar metals whenever water is present. And over time, that causes the metals to prematurely corrode and eventually fail completely. If homeowners or even novice DIYers aren't super careful when they're upgrading old plumbing lines to new ones, they can totally trigger this process by accident, and that leads to absolutely devastating leaks down the road. It is just a fantastic reminder that plumbing isn't just turning wrenches, it's applied science. To pull this upgrade off correctly, we're going to follow a really structured blueprint. First, prepping the old system. Second, stopping silent pipe killers. Third, navigating plastic pipe differences. Fourth, soldering safely and smartly. And finally, securing the final setup. Okay, moving into section 1, prepping the old system, the delicate art of teardown. So when you're breaking down old galvanized steel pipe, the source material points out a really crucial pro tip. Always use two wrenches simultaneously. One wrench is there purely to hold the existing pipe rock steady, while the other one turns the fitting you actually want to remove. Now, why is that so absolutely crucial? Well, if you just go in twisting away with one wrench, you run the huge risk of transferring all that turning force further down the line. You could easily disturb downstream pipes and create collateral leaks inside walls you aren't even working on, which is a nightmare. It's just a brilliant lesson in isolating your force. Next up, section 2. Stopping silent pipe killers, the science of metals. So picture this. On one side of the wall, we've got old galvanized steel. Now, in a 40-year-old home, this pipe isn't just rusty, it's highly prone to interior calcium buildup. And that buildup restricts the actual diameter of the pipe from the inside, which totally kills your water pressure. Then, on the other side, we have the shiny new copper pipe we're installing. Copper is incredibly durable. It's the modern standard. But exactly as we learned a minute ago, copper is super vulnerable to that electrolysis corrosion if it touches the old steel pipe directly. So we've got to bridge this gap safely. So how do we make that connection safely? Enter the dielectric union. This is a highly specialized transition fitting designed specifically with plastic inserts and a black rubber seal. This clever little device physically separates the two metals. It joins the galvanized steel and the copper tightly together so water can flow, sure, but it ensures the metals themselves never actually touch each other. Basically, the dielectric union acts as the ultimate peacekeeper in your walls, physically blocking that silent killer electrolysis and making sure your new copper is going to last a really long time. Moving right along to section 3, navigating plastic pipe differences, the waistline. When you open up a wall, you're probably going to encounter different types of plastic waistlines. PVC is that highly common white plastic that we see everywhere. It's generally pretty easy to cut, even with power tools. But older homes, they often use ABS pipe, which is black plastic. ABS is an older standard, and here is the kicker. It is highly sensitive to friction and heat when you're cutting it. And this leads perfectly into an incredibly memorable anecdote from our expert, Claude Taylor. He noted, "I tried cutting this with a power saw. It went through so fast and heated the pipe up so much that it just fused right back together." I mean, imagine that. You cut right through the pipe, but the friction heat from the power tool melts the plastic so intensely that the second the blade passes, the pipe literally welds itself back into a solid piece. Talk about frustrating. It's a fantastic reminder that faster is definitely not always better. For ABS pipe, stepping back and just using a simple manual handsaw is actually the smarter, much more effective choice. Okay, so once you successfully cut that ABS pipe, you have to attach your new modern laundry box, which usually features PVC connections. But here's another hurdle. The plumbing industry generally rejects the idea of just gluing dissimilar plastics like PVC and ABS together. The chemical solvents simply don't bond them reliably. So the solution we use is a no-hub band. It's a 2-inch mechanical coupling mechanism. You slip it over the ABS, slip the new PVC into the other side, and tighten down the metal bands. Boom. It gives you a highly secure, leak-proof transition without having to rely on chemical glues that might fail over time.
Which brings us to Section 4, Soldering Safely and Smartly, the Art of the Fit.
This section covers what is arguably the most hazardous part of the entire job: firing up an open-flame blowtorch inside a highly flammable wooden wall. Yikes. So, professional tradespeople mitigate this huge fire risk through a prefabrication strategy. Step 1. You measure and dry fit the copper pieces directly inside the laundry box, so you know exactly how everything aligns. Step 2. Remove that entire loose assembly and take it completely out into your open workspace. Solder your complex joints out there, safely away from the drywall and the wooden studs. And finally, Step 3. Just reinsert the finished, cooled assembly back into the wall. By prefabricating, you drastically minimize the amount of time an open flame is anywhere near your home's structural framing. But wait, if you build a complex copper assembly outside the wall, how do you stop the loose fittings from swinging totally out of alignment before you solder them? Well, the pro tip for this is just ingenious. You take your pliers and you gently squeeze the end of the copper pipe into a very slight egg shape. Just a little bit. When you push it into the round fitting, the friction of that oval shape grips the fitting tightly. It locks your precise angles in place so you can solder them perfectly. Add to that a convenient auto-ignite propane torch for easy one-handed operation, and always keeping a simple water spray bottle handy to immediately douse the wall studs if they get too hot, and you've got a flawless recipe for a safe, successful installation. All right, the home stretch. Section 5, Securing the Final Setup, the Final Polish. We have the chemistry right and the soldering done, but first, we absolutely must cement an unshakable industry standard. The golden rule of plumbing layouts: hot water is always on the left, and cold water is always on the right. I know, it sounds so incredibly simple, almost redundant, right? But missing this detail causes massive headaches down the road. Adhering to this universally ensures that the homeowner, and honestly the next tradesperson who opens up that wall decades from now, is never ever confused about what they're looking at. Finally, we finish up the physical labor. You're going to hand tighten those dielectric unions to make absolutely sure the rubber seals are compressed and leak-proof. Crucially, you strap the new copper pipes securely and directly to the wooden wall studs so they don't rattle or hammer when the washing machine aggressively pulls water. And lastly, you clean up. I know, all of this beautiful copper and complex science is soon going to be entirely hidden behind a piece of sheetrock, but professional neatness ensures a pristine workspace for the drywallers, and it really guarantees the long-term reliability of the whole system. And that brings us to our final thought for today. Your plumbing might be hidden right there behind the drywall, totally out of sight and out of mind. But after learning the science today, you have to ask yourself, is your home built to last? Because by understanding the why behind the tools, from preventing electrolysis with dielectric unions, to respecting the friction of plastic, to controlling the very real hazards of soldering, we completely transform a basic household chore into a true exercise in lasting engineering. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, stay curious, and I will catch you on the next one.